Hey, hey, good morning, everybody. Let me lower my speaker there. Welcome back to Freedom Algo, everybody. Trade just set up just now, so there we go. Really nice setup here. And we'll see how far this wants to go. I'm going to move my runner here soon. I didn't have a chance to put on the music yet. Let's just see what we do when we get to the top of the range here. Because if it fails out the top and stays inside the range, I don't really want to stay in this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to at least drop my stop there for now, which is 2 points. And then because I basically that's more than the scalp anyway. I scalped 6 ticks on that. So I'm going to let it run. And we're just going to move this up and see if maybe we can catch a trend here and ride the runner up. That would be cool. So let's see. So I'm going to draw my short-term channel. Start off with it a little steeper, just to be on the side of caution for now. All right, that's pretty good. So now I'm going to come up and I'm actually going to go to right here, which is 2 ticks below the range low. So now my runner is secured at 4 points. So if it does come back, I'll still get 4 points on the runner. And what I'm going to do here, because we have a first entry short right there on that higher low, we could get a second entry short here and it could fail right back inside. So that's why I want to be careful here. But that is looking like it's going to fall inside this trend line. I'm going to actually widen this a bit. I'm going to look at the trend kind of like this. If it comes back inside here a little bit, I'm okay with getting stopped out there. So we're within 1 tick. That's why I put it 2 ticks below, just in case we get a breakout pullback. I still think this thing's going to go higher. I am going to leave my stop here 1 tick below that low. And I'll move it up again if necessary. There's a couple ways to play this. You see, you could do what I did there. Yeah, and get stopped out right there. Or you could put it below like the most recent bearish bar. The only problem with that is like it could tick down like a tick and keep going. But it does look like we're going to get another failed breakout possibly. And again, I could have probably left, there's a chance I left money on the table there. We'll see if it becomes a breakout pullback. But I was okay with that move. So decent little play, especially in a range. You don't want to always go for huge runners in a range. So that's why I played it like that. All right, let me just move my mic. Hope everybody's having a good day. Good way to start the stream right there. Good way to start that. This is a second entry short, but I think it's within the channel. I don't think you can play that. It is looking like this is range high might be different. So we might have to actually move this up a bit. It doesn't really meet. See, I don't like that. I'm going to leave it where it was for now, and we'll move it as we go. All right. Good morning, KP. Good to have you here, fam. I'm going to get the music going. Give me a second here. All right, there we go. If you're here, please smash up the likes, subscribe. Alex, good to have you here. Good to have you here. I'm going to go over the trade setups here in just a second, everybody. Okay, so what is a contrarian truth that I believe in within trading? Well, I mean, it's kind of a funny question that you ask because it's like, I guess I could try to give you my answer of like things I believe in that might not be conventional wisdom in trading, but they are to me. So I guess the probably the most obvious one to me is risk reward is not what you expect when you read the conventional trading wisdom. So most of the time in trading, you'll come across all this stuff that says, hey, like you'll come across all this stuff that says, hey, like if you're trading, you need to trade with like a 1-to-3 risk reward ratio or a 1-to-2 or whatever, because, you know, yada yada, you only have to be right a certain amount of the time and all this other stuff. But what I found is that like, it's not exactly the way it is. Realistically for me, I've found that risk reward isn't exactly the most important thing. The most important thing is having setups that have a high win rate within a specific system that I go for. So my trades do not have a positive risk reward, but the strategy still works. And it's because of a high win rate. So I think one of the contrarian truths I found is that the formula for what needs to work for you in your system isn't just risk reward. It's a combination of win rate, risk reward, position sizing, and the likelihood of catching runners and average size of runners and things like that. So there's a lot more. It's a lot more complicated than just a simple trade setup with a risk reward system. So that's what I would say there. All right, John, you said for the trade I just took, I said high or low. Well, it's a second entry long. So John, second entry long because you have a pullback, first entry long, pullback, second entry long breaks above this bar, right? So technically the second entry long didn't trigger until this bar, and this is also a higher low. So you have a new high, pullback, first entry, pullback, above this bar. Let me just draw it. Above this bar right here would be a second entry long, which doesn't happen, but then it breaks lower and gives you a higher low that triggers the second entry long and a higher low. It's kind of a weird one. It's also a triple test because you have a 1, 2, 3, basically 4, like a fifth test. It's like a triple test as well. Yeah. Jarvis, equal high. Where are you talking about equal high? I don't know what you're talking about there, Jarvis. There's a high up here. So that's where I got that. But yeah, I mean, this, I would count this as a second entry. Like, this is basically a second entry long all at once that has played out because it broke above the first entry long. But you're taking this mostly because it's a really good range trade. The range is holding there, right? Look at this. 1, 2, 3 tests, and then a higher low. Like, really nice triple test inside that range. Now, it is breaking out the highs here, so we do have to be aware of that. This is probably going to be like an entirely new uptrend, so we'll draw it here as a possibility. Now, we're not guaranteed to have this thing go, right? We're not guaranteed. This could be that this is just playing out from this new high. Or, sorry, from this up channel. It needed a new high. So, we don't know for sure that we're going to get an up channel here, but it's possible. Very possible. Tighten that a bit. I'm going to try to draw it so it touches this level. Something like that. We'll see how it actually forms and if we need to move it. But this channel, or the range highs aren't really holding very well. Sorry to hear that, Alex. They don't have a 2K on. I don't know what Trade Locker is, but yeah. You can use a 1-minute chart and it works similar. Yeah, I mean, the thing is with trading, like, there's all different ways to trade. And it is the case that some stuff works for some people, some stuff works for others. There are some traders out there who trade with like a 1-to-1 risk reward and like, 60, 70% win rate. There's traders out there who trade with a 1-to-1.5 or 1-to-2 risk reward, and they have a lower win rate, and they can do that with their system. And that's great for people that can do that. For me, I'm a scalper with a high win rate. So I'm not going for huge wins. I'm going for small wins and a lot of them. That's the way I trade. Oh, yeah, Forex. Yeah, makes sense. Okay. So, yeah, so it does look like this channel might hold. So let me go over the trades for the day and the structure. So I'll zoom out here. If you haven't done so already, please like the video. Definitely subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We're doing these live streams on Mondays and Fridays right now. And then on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I do them, but only as a webinar format that's actually real time. And they are for my school community only. So for the paid members, which you can get a trial for. You can get a trial for a 7-day free trial. So if you want to learn about that, just go to the link tree, the link in the description or the chat, and you'll see it here, the about page. And it's $99 a month, but there's a 7-day free trial. So there's no risk to try it. You get 5 times per week live coaching streams. Monday and Friday are the public ones. That's what we're on right now. But Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are private just for the members. So that's all in there. You get access to all the coaching sessions. Like there's so much that you actually get in here. And so I just wanted to call that out. Let me just pull it up on my other screen. I just want to make sure I didn't have certain things open. Okay. Just because some of the stuff is proprietary and I didn't want to like show it. So when you get in, you obviously have the community tab. Everything is in here. Calendar has all the events. You can see the schedule for the streams and the events here. Here, let me change the view. So you can see like these ones are school webinars on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday's another public YouTube one. So there you go. Classroom. Well, even on the trial, you get access to the start here and the coaching sessions. So the coaching sessions I'll show you here. Like that's our one from last week on the 30th. You can see those. You get access to this full course that has a 4-hour course in it and a bunch of other stuff. There's a lot of really good stuff in there. The price action course unlocks after you become a full member, after your 7-day trial ends. But you get access to the calendar. You can join the streams. You can join our thread. You can see this one has 79 posts today. This is our thread from this morning with all the chart updates and everything in there, the trades we took. It's all here. So there you go. And also you get access to the Ninja Trader tools that I built, but only after you're a full member. So after day 8. All right. So you asked, how do I use the ATR to determine my take profit? It's built into my tool. So you see how it says TP? That's how many ticks I should be going for right now. So 5.4. So I essentially round it down. So I'll go for 5 ticks right now. And that's based on my 14 period ATR. So I use a calculation to determine that. So that's how I do it. For my scalp, my runner, I manage different. So basically today we had this giant range with a downtrend in it. And then we are basically at the middle of the range again, if you measure from the low. So that's really what it looks like. Now in this morning there was a trade. The first trade didn't come until right before the open, about 15 minutes before. Basically, we had an up channel, close outside, first entry, second entry long, expecting a new high there. It was a little dicey because it was kind of this level that we had broken out of. But it kind of acts like a breakout pullback. That's also a higher low. So it's a second entry long, but it's also like this is like a breakout pullback with a higher low bouncing off the level. So pretty decent trade. I liked that one. I did take that. Then it came down, and then we had a first entry, second entry short, which I really liked this one, and I did take that. Kind of confirms that channel right here. So first attempt back to the EMA. It's not a very big bar either. It's only an 8-tick bar. So pretty nice one. It goes down. It kind of turns into like a little bit of a flatter channel here. There's no other setups in this that I see. Then we come down, we get this move up, and we actually get a first entry, second entry short, This one is okay. I would say it's not the best setup of the day because you're above the EMA, but you got room to come back. It is a close outside, 2 legs to new high. And, but we have made a close outside new low on the down channels, so it's risky. But it was bearish overall. So you might be expecting that it's, you know, it's not finished yet. I still think it's not perfect. It comes down and you get a first entry, second entry short. Not a good signal bar. One more attempt here. This is actually a failure as well. But I don't think you're looking for that after the new low there. But it ends up just rocketing off down here. From this high, there is like a first entry. You could look at that like a second entry long, but you can't pick a bottom like that. All these higher lows are on the wrong side of the EMA. Nothing really good in there. There's a second entry short here, but I think it's risky after all that movement down. It's your first comeback to the EMA, but you've already made all these new lows. I just think you got to wait to confirm some sort of a channel there, and you just don't have one. And it ends up going higher. You're also in an up channel when that forms. It goes higher. And then here, you do get a first entry, second entry long. Signal bar is not ideal. The other problem is you can see it's not really a close outside and new low yet. But when you get the higher low, I think that that's a good one. So you get the higher low there. Really nice little setup. And then you come over here. You saw me take this one. I was in this with my runner right in the beginning of the stream. So you saw me take this. You saw me take this trade, which is the higher low after the second entry long and triple test, which I already explained that trade. And now I was thinking maybe we get a channel here, but it doesn't look like we're going to. So we're going to look at this as a close outside of this up channel, move to a new high, and now we're trying to make new lows. In this case, we can look at this as like a possible different range high, maybe up here for now. Possibility somewhere up there. But it's inconsistent highs on this range, so not ideal. We got to wait to see what we do at the lows. We can draw a down channel here. And that's how I see it so far. If you got questions, drop them in the chat. Thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for being here. I'll be right back. Got to step away for just a second. All right, I'm back. Alex, you're in? Oh, did you join the, did you mean that you joined the community? I don't think I saw you in there. Because I saw that you said you're in, so I was curious. I don't think I saw you in there, but you can do a free trial whenever you want. Unless your name is something different in there. Sometimes people's names are different on YouTube versus on there, so that could be what that is too. Just checking, making sure I didn't miss any, making sure I didn't miss anything. All right. Hey, DJ. Good to have you, fam. Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. It's a little bit rough right now because the highs are inconsistent, but the lows are pretty consistent. We're basically just hovering around in the middle of this big giant range that we have today. So nothing really that crazy to write home about. We can remove this blue line. That was originally one of my range lows that I had. Hey, that's cool, Alex. Good to have you, and it'll be good to have you in the community. Yeah, the government shutdown thing, that could be affecting the markets for sure. Hard to know. I think the outcome of that could be interesting. All right, cool. That noise was you joining, so there it is. So I see that you just started your trial. So thanks for getting started. Thanks for getting started. Hey, give me 1 second. I got to take a phone call real quick. Hey, sorry about that. Had to deal with a quick call. All right, let me see. All right, Alex, you'll get a message from me in just a second here if you don't see it. You'll get a message from me that just basically sends you a link to the Start Here course. And that's the best thing to do. I'll just tell you real quick while you're on the call. I mean, the best thing to do is what the heck was that? All right, cool. So, best thing to do is to go to the classroom, right? And start going through the Start Here course, because that'll get you a lot of things answered. So that's the best thing to do after the call today, is just get in there, start going through that. I will put a link. I don't think I put it in here yet. Right, did I? I'll put a link in here. Add a folder for November 2025. And this will be a link here to today's call. So, let me see if I can. So every time that I have these calls, I'll just put it on here now just to show you so that you can see. So every time that we do these calls, I always have links in here to the last one. So today is November 3rd, 2025. And you'll always see these in here. This will just be a YouTube link, right? So this will be for today. You can go in and check those out if you ever miss one. I always have them in there. I used to just... Usually in these, I usually just put the paid ones because the other ones are public on YouTube. But maybe I'll start just putting them all in here just so that you can go back and look at every specific day. That might be easier for people. So maybe I'll do that. Just moving forward. I think that's the move. Anyway, you can go in and check everything out, and if you got questions, feel free to ask. All right. So it does look like we're breaking out the top here. Also, someone else just joined, so thank you. Someone else just joined. I think it was, yeah, shout out to the other member who just joined. I see you in here, so shout out to you. Cool. All right, let's take a look here. Okay, cool. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, that's how I used to do it, actually. So maybe I'll go back to doing that again. So let's just do it now while we're thinking about it. So we could just, like, label this, you know. I'll just do public YouTube or something, you know. Or I'll just do, like, free YouTube. I'll just do it like this. I'll do, like, free YouTube. And then for, like, these ones, I'll just do, like, paid cool webinar, right? That will make it more straightforward. And you can see there's a few of those last week. So that'll make it more straightforward for everybody. That way you know. You can always find the free stuff on YouTube, and you can always come back to find the other stuff. The school webinar ones are real time as well. Like, we figured out that we can do them. Basically, it's real time, so you don't have the delay like you get with some of the other stuff. I'm not going to go back and relabel all the previous ones. I was using live stream for a little bit. I was doing private. Basically, what I was doing, just to clear this up, because some people might wonder. What I was doing at one point, so I used to do them as Zooms, but that was getting annoying. So I wanted to switch it so that there could be more. And then what I was doing, yeah, for sure, Alex. I want to always make things better as we can. And DJ, the price action wasn't really bad last week, in my opinion. I thought it was fine. But anyway, what made you say it was bad? So Alex, with regards to what I was doing for a little bit there was Monday and Friday public live stream on YouTube, and then I was doing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday private YouTube live stream for the community, for the school community, but I switched it to school webinar. So I'll just start labeling them moving forward so that they're obviously like this. Paid school webinar, or I'll just call it, or I'm just gonna, yeah, this will be like, what I'm going to do is call it school exclusive. Because I don't want people to think that it's a separate fee, because it's not. If you're already a school member, you can see that. So it'll be school exclusive and then free YouTube. So we'll just do it like that. That'll make it obvious, I think. That way it doesn't confuse people, because I don't want people to think that they have to pay extra for something when they don't. And then, yeah, once your trial ends, on day 8, when you become a full member, you'll have access to the full course. But everything else you have in the meantime. Everything else in school you have access to. So definitely take advantage. Also, the other person who joined, thank you. If you're on the stream right now, I appreciate you. And let me know if you got any questions. Yep, actually, pretty accurate. Pretty accurate. Classic. Classic. I wonder... So sometimes when you see something like this, you have to start to wonder, are we dealing with a spike in channel, right? Because if you look at this low right here, it kind of lines up with a possible spike in channel pattern. You can't really ignore the bias here to the upside. Like that is starting to look pretty strong. Something like that. So you can't ignore this possibility of a spike in channel here. Now, I don't think that we have something off of this low, because that doesn't fit. But this does look pretty strong. We have to be aware of it. It's not saying for sure that it's guaranteed or anything. We just have to be aware of it. And just to see like how things progress. We do have a new high here and a first entry long. Now, I don't think a second entry long is ideal here because of where we are. It's 2 sideways. We're back at the top of this range level. I don't think you can take a long there. I think you got to be patient here. Definitely be patient. Hey, curious, Alex, where did, just out of curiosity, where did you hear about me? Have you been following on YouTube for a while? Or what? Where did you hear about me? Did you find me on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or YouTube? Just curious, and I like to know, just so I know, like, where people are coming from. And also, just curious about, yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Nice. Yeah, definitely check out the course. Yeah, I think so. I think so. That's cool. I didn't even know that I was ranking for something around that. So that's cool to hear. Cool to hear. All right. Yeah, for sure, Alex, for sure. DJ, you're saying your biggest problem has been simplifying your strategies that you know cause... oh, yeah, because trading is complex. Yeah, so... How many entry triggers would I recommend having? That's a good question. For me, it's not really about simplifying your entry triggers and bias. I mean, for me... like you already know that I trade with price action specifically. So it's not really about a number of triggers. It's like, it's not a specific number or whatever. Like, it's not, like, my system isn't like one of those systems where it's like, if X, Y, Z happen, then take a trade. It's a lot more about understanding what is happening in the price action overall. Like, for example, right now, the bias is up. I'm not looking for shorts, right? Because we're making higher highs, higher lows. We have a possible spike in channel. Even if we do have a range, we're not getting to the lows of the range anymore. We keep on bouncing and going higher. So there's an upward bias. So I'm only going to look for a long trade in this type of environment. At the same time, I'm not going to take a trade in congestion like this. Even if there is a setup, like even though there's a second entry long there, I don't think it's a good setup. It's also a doji. But I'm going to wait for a pullback to a key entry point that gives me some confirmations. And then I'm going to see if it meets my entry criteria. So for me, it's more about understanding the environment. Like earlier today, right? Earlier today, we were bullish, right? We were going up, we made a higher high, higher low, higher high again. And we're expecting a new high to be made up here, most likely. So there's a setup that forms, so you take it. Similarly, over here, we were bearish. We were making lows. We were getting pretty close to this gap down here that we were looking to fill. And we got a really nice two-legged correction back to the 21 EMA in a bearish trend off of the trend line. That's the stuff I'm looking for. So when it sets up for me, I take the short. It's really that simple. Yeah. And then my stop loss always goes one tick above or below the signal bar every single time. So there's no ambiguity there. Similarly here, we were bullish. We had already made a new low. We were turning higher. You get the second entry long, the higher low, right above the 21 EMA. Really nice setup with the trend. So there's these types of setups. This point I already talked about. Like it's all about understanding your overall context of where you currently are. Are you in a short-term trend? Are you in a long-term trend? Long-term being relative to the day. Are you in a range? Are you in a trend that's still moving inside of a range? You have to know all this stuff. So you have to be able to keep track of the actual price action, and then you can start looking for your entry criteria and setups once you are aware of your price action and the context that you're in. So right now, even if a short setup happens, I'm not taking it because the context of the price action. And that's the whole thing. Like when I take like second entry longs or triple tests or whatever, I'm not taking the trade just because that formed. I'm taking it because it formed in a specific area within a specific context. Like you might find, for example, here's a second entry short right here. But I'm not taking that short because even though it's there and it's a nice signal bar, it's not in the context of where I want to take a short. Hopefully that makes sense. I teach all that stuff in the course though. That's all taught in the course. And then you'll learn a lot of that from just real time. Yeah, I mean, like, bias, if that's what you want to call it. But yeah, like, overall, you know, for example, like, here's an example. All right. Let's go to this trade right here. After this trade happened, so let's talk about why this is a good trade. The reason this is a good trade is that even though we made a new high after this move, we were in a range, and this level was holding right here. We bounced here, we bounced here, we bounced here, and then we got a higher low on this level again. Now, that's one part of the context. We're still in a range, and the support is holding. Second part of the context, short-term downtrend has a close outside and a new low. So the short-term downtrend has played out. And then you get a higher low, which is the second attempt to make a second leg to a new low, failing. So this tells me that we're probably reversing here. We're off the lows of the range. We're bouncing off support. We got a higher low, triple test, higher low after the second entry long, close outside, new low. Everything is telling me that a long is a smart idea here. And we have room to get to the highs of here, right? Like we have room at the time, you have room to that high. So plenty of reasons to like a trade there. But then when we get a second entry short, you don't want to take that because even though that looks like a nice short candle, you're still in this up channel and you have to respect the bias. You have to respect that the up channel hasn't played out here yet. So it's kind of like that. There's rules that you follow in price action. That's the shortest way for me to describe it. There's rules that you follow. I'm going to move this channel back over. This range back over. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to extend a line off of these lows. In case we do come back down, that would be a level that I expect some possible bounces from. But for now, I'm just going to look at this as an upward bias that is still in play. Because we keep making higher highs here and higher lows. So let's see if we get some sort of pullback. But for now, that's the setup that I'm seeing. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, that's one way to do it, DJ, but here's the problem. Here's the problem. You're going to have reversals throughout the day, so you have to be able to take advantage of that. On the higher time frame, this probably looks overall bearish because, or like a doji or something. But, like, you have to be able, or it looks like a pullback and there might be a room for a short or something. But for me, I don't look at other time frames. I just look at one and I figure out everything within this. If you start looking at multiple time frames, in my opinion, you're going to end up with conflicts. And it's going to be hard to discern what's actually going on. That's at least my experience with it. I used to do that. Before I got into trading this style, I used to trade like a multi-time frame approach. And basically what I would do is I would like look at like the 5 minute and the 1 minute and the 15 minute. And I'd look at all these things. And all that it really did is give me a bunch of conflicts. Because everything that I need is in the context of the one chart that I trade. So I don't look at anything else. I look at one thing. That's it. And I think that's the way to do it. That is the way to do it, in my opinion. Yeah, so yeah, if you do that, if you start trading, opposite, yeah. So where that comes from, DJ, there's a reason. There's a reason this happens, and it's a psychological reason. There's a reason, though. It is psychological, mainly. What it is that our brains are wired to want to get a really good deal and to be right. So what happens is, like, there's all these strategies out there that people trade where they're trying to catch the absolute extreme of a move. And those strategies tend to be losing strategies over the long term. Because trying to catch the falling knife, you've probably heard people say that, is just a fool's game, right? Like, just think about that in general. So I remember for a summer, I was doing work with my uncle, and it was HVAC, and basically we were talking about, we were talking about the whole thing about, like, when you're working with duct, right? It's like, it's sheet metal and it's sharp. And if for some reason, like, you're loading up something and then it falls, like he was saying, he's like, never catch falling tin. That's kind of like what they would say. Never catch the falling tin. And the reason, the whole point here is that if you were to try to catch the falling tin, it's gonna slash your hand. Like, that's just the way it is. Like, it's just a bad move. Like, you're trying to catch something that's dangerous. You might catch it and not hurt yourself, but for the most part, it's a dangerous move, not a good idea, and so that's how that works. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure that I was clear about that. Don't catch falling knives, right? Don't look for the bottom. The psychological thing, our brains tell us to do it, right? We have a natural inclination, right? I remember one time I was working at a restaurant, and I was I almost dropped a really expensive steak that I was cooking. And I was holding the plate with my tongs with my left hand, and I almost dropped it, and I stuck my right hand under the extremely hot metal plate that it was on. And just as a reflex, I didn't actually burn myself, but I put my hand there, and then I pulled it away real quick and went, whoa. Because I was going to try to catch it. Naturally, my brain wanted to do it. It wanted to catch the falling plate, even though it's super dangerous and would have hurt me. And that's how trading is too. Like, our ego and our brain wants us to catch the absolute extreme. It feels so good when you take a trade and you get basically no heat on it and you catch an absolute bottom or an absolute top, right? But it's just, it creates a real big problem. And that's why I see all these people out there who trade these, like, these ridiculous strategies where they look for, you see it all the time with, like, the fair value gap people, and they try to say, oh, well, if it comes down into this fair value gap, I'm just going to drop a limit order or whatever. And it's like, well, yeah, you're catching a falling knife at that level, but who's to say it doesn't just smash straight through and stop you out? But when it doesn't, and then they're like, well, I'm going to trade it and take a huge win and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, you're going to be wrong most of the time. Just a bad way to trade. And then, like, that one time when you're right, you're going to tell everybody that you're the best trader in the world, but it's just not smart. So for me, it's all about, like, when I took this long here, I'm getting in one tick above this bar. So there's still a bunch of space below me. Like, I didn't catch the absolute low, but I got in with the momentum, and I took almost no heat on that. And that's what you want, in my opinion. Yeah, for sure. If you got questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. I'm just doing something real quick on my other screen. I'll get back to the chat in just a second here. See, we're making higher highs still. So we got to be patient here and wait for the right setups, but positive signs at least. Yeah, you're welcome, man. You're welcome. You're welcome. If you got questions, put them in the chat. If you haven't done so already, please give the stream a like. We only got 10 likes right now. Let's get more. Yeah, I mean, I think DJ, I mean, you already know my stance on all this. Like, my process is simple. I think you might be trying to do too much. Put too many strategies together, Frankensteining things, all that. Somebody shared, I don't know if he's here, but Rainier shared this in the group the other day. Over the weekend, we were chatting in the school community, and he shared something I thought was really useful. It was, he basically shared this chart on the stages that traders go through. And like, one of the stages is called strategy obsession. The emotion related to it is analytical, and the typical outcome is over tweaking. And this is something that a lot of traders go through. It's like an over optimization, obsession with, you know, fine tuning and all this stuff. And the reality is, it just doesn't typically work long term to be in that position. I mean, just think of this. When you hear people say, hey, stop overthinking, why are people saying that? Well, it's because you're stressing yourself out. You're giving yourself anxiety. And by the way, this is breaking through the bottom, so I don't think that the spike in channel is really in play unless this level holds here. But now it's looking a little dubious. So I'll draw it, but it's dubious. If you're operating from a place of overthinking, you're typically not operating at your best. You're operating from a place of anxiety and stress and freaking out, and those are typically not the times when we make the best decisions. But most traders go through this period where they become overly analytical and they try to fine-tune everything to the point where they break their own strategies. I've done it myself earlier in my career. And then what'll happen is then they'll go into this place where you start to feel good about your trading, you're making results, and then you'll have a loss, a bad loss, let's say. And then what happens is what? You fall back to this over-tweaking, over-optimization when it's not the right move in that moment, because you might have just had a loss because of something emotional. There might be nothing wrong with the strategy. You might have just read the market wrong that day. And so there's a lot of stuff there to consider. You really just need a strategy that gives you confidence that works, that you've tested on sim for a long time, that shows you that it works, so that you have the confidence to know that. And that way you don't diverge from it when you have setbacks, because you will have setbacks. You will have a bad day. You'll make a bad decision. You'll do something. Doesn't mean that your strategy's wrong. You got to take full accountability for your mistakes. That'll happen. So we'll see if this level wants to hold here. I don't know. It's a little dubious. All right. Let me know if you got more questions. Drop them in the chat if so. And then, of course, anybody in school, I encourage you to use the school community tab to ask me questions there, because I'll always get back to you in more depth that way, and then I can respond with like Loom videos and stuff like that. So don't feel like you have to ask all your questions on the stream. You can always ask questions in there. Well, we are in a spot here where after a move like this, you usually expect a new low to be made on a channel like that, but we have to wait and see. It might not if this uptrend is going to hold. This is going to form a second entry long right here. New high, first entry long, equal low. So this is a second entry long. It's not one I would take. Just the way that that formed, I don't love that. Because even though the bias is still kind of up, the fact that this swing came down so far gives me a little bit of pause. So we'll see. I might wrap up the stream here soon, everybody. Unless you got more questions for me. So I'll give it a minute, see if anything else comes through. Of course, tomorrow, pull it up. Tomorrow, the school live will be at 8:30. Same thing on Wednesday. This is Pacific time. On Thursday and Friday, it'll be around 9 a.m. Friday's the next public YouTube stream. But yeah, we'll see here. These next three. What are my pet names? I got two pets. I got my dog. His name's Vinny. He's 12. He's a half lab, half German Shepherd. He's all black. And then I have a pet snake in here. She was in I took her out on Friday's stream. So I took her out on Friday's stream. Her name is Alice, and she is a ball python. She's about 2 years old or so. A little more than 2 years old. 2.5 maybe. Something like that. Alright, so that's a higher low. This is actually a failed second entry short. It's also a higher low after a second entry long. But again, it's a little dicey there. I just think that this isn't ideal to take a trade right here. Yeah, for sure. On the Friday stream, I pulled her out for a little while, so she's on there at some point. Still getting used to this clock change that we had. Not my favorite. All right, so if you got questions, put them in the chat, everybody. Oh man, that's a funny one. Yeah, I mean, for sure. I've received so much trolls over the time. Yeah, like I've had plenty of times where people came in and said rude stuff to me. Actually, so there's a lot of traders out there. If you've ever heard of like, and I don't want to start any problems, but I'll just explain it. If you've ever heard of, I kind of alluded to it earlier, but if you ever heard of like the fair value gap, ICT, all these guys that teach this like strategy out there, smart money concepts, all this weird stuff. Look, that strategy, those styles, they don't resonate with me. It's basically a form of price action that was based on like what Wyckoff taught. And it just doesn't resonate with me. I don't really like it. I'm not saying it doesn't work or whatever. I personally don't resonate with it. But a lot of the people that follow those strategies, they think that everybody else's strategies don't work and that their strategy is the only one that does work. And it's because the guy who taught it all, he claims that there's an algorithm that runs the market that he created. And that he's the only one who knows how to deal with it. And that, like, the market's out to get you. And they have this whole conspiracy theory that the market's somehow out to get you, which I think is really detrimental to trading. Because the market's not out to get you. The market just exists. And traders trade against each other. Like, that's it. It's a zero-sum game. It's not... This isn't based on some weird conspiracy. And I see it all the time. People will be like, well, if you know, the market makers are trying to trick you and blah, blah. And I'm like, dude... What are you talking about? Like, it's just take ownership of if you took a bad trade or not, and just realize that. But anyway, sometimes those people will show up in my comments and in the chat and stuff, and they'll start trying to flame me for my strategy. They'll tell me, oh, there's no way you could trade with that risk reward. That's crazy, blah, blah, blah. And there's a bunch of naysayers who will show up. There's people who talk a bunch of smack. And it's because their ego tells them that they want to feel like they're right. They want to feel like their strategy is the best strategy in the world, and they're probably just not having success with it. So they're trying to find some way to not just own that fact. Like they're in denial that there's other ways to trade. So that's what I see sometimes. And, you know, if someone comes in here and starts saying crazy stuff in the chat, I'll just ban them. But if, you know, or if they start leaving like just ridiculous comments. But for the most part, I just try to handle things like with grace. So if someone comes in and starts saying stuff, at first I always try to handle things in a positive way, right? I always try to handle things in a positive way with somebody and try to make it constructive. And if they start being unreasonable after me being reasonable to them, because a lot of people start in an unreasonable place. A lot of people come in, and this has happened to me a lot, especially on like TikTok or Instagram or whatever. People will try to like say some very rude stuff. They'll come in, they'll try to like one up me, and I'll try to be really helpful and positive to them, and I'll give them my honest feedback about things. And then if they're still really rude to me after, then I'll just ban them or block them or whatever, because there's no reason for that. So I always give people a chance, even if they start very aggressive. I still give them a chance. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of annoying sometimes because I'm just like, look, I'm just a dude who trades a certain style. I'm not looking for any problems. but the problems tend to find me sometimes. That's just how it goes. All right, any more final questions? Remember, tomorrow will be the school webinar style. It's on here on the calendar. Tomorrow, it'll be a webinar. I'll put a link to it in the community tab like always. So I always, like here's like today's price action thread. So just what I always do, I'll have a new thread called, whoops, hold on. Here, basically what I do is I always create a new thread the day before. So this will be the November 4th one for tomorrow that we're going to use. And then, link to the... And after this call, I'll put a link to this on the calendar. So this will be ready to go for tomorrow. This will be the thread we use during tomorrow morning's session. Throughout the session, which looks like this one, where I'm posting all the chart updates throughout the whole session, right? And then we're having a whole discussion. So that's going to be for tomorrow's thread. I'll update this in a little bit, and I'll put a link to the actual calendar that shows you where to get to this and everything. It shows you where to get to the webinar when it's time. But it always shows up on there. You'll see it right at the top. It might already be on there. Let me see. Is it already on there? Yeah, see, it actually is already on here. There's already a link to it right here. So there's always and when I'm live, it'll be there. So that's all set up. If anybody else wants to learn about what I'm talking about, if anybody wants to join, or at least join on a free trial, you can join Freedom Algo on a 7-day trial. Just go to the About page. You'll see it here. It's $99 a month, but it's a 7-day free trial. Basically try it risk-free. You get access to literally everything in the school community with the exception of the full price action course that unlocks on day 8 when your free trial ends and you become a full member. But you get access to everything else in here. The Start Here, the Start Here course actually has a ton of stuff in there, including a 4-hour course and a bunch of other stuff. So that you get access to pretty much all that. The only things you don't get are the Freedom Algo Ninja Trader tools and the full course, which you get access to both those when you become a full member. So that's all in there. Any other questions before we head out? I did show a trade earlier when I started the stream. I showed a runner that was there. You can see that if you want to go back and check it out. And I explained it. Give it like a few more seconds here. All right, I'm going to wrap up here, everybody. I appreciate you all. Thanks to the new members who joined. I appreciate you. Hope you enjoy your free trial. If you have any questions, obviously reach out to me on school. And looking forward to seeing everybody else soon. So have a good rest of the day. See everybody tomorrow that is in the school community on there. So tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday for the school webinars. And then, of course, on Friday, I'll be back on YouTube with the public stream. So I'll see the YouTube crew then. And we'll see. I might be releasing another, I just released a video on trading psychology the other day. I'll probably release another one this week. So look out for that. But anyway, thanks everybody. I appreciate you. And I will see you all soon.